way?
Yeah, down. I figured.
Why is that?
I don't know. Turn blinker on with your ring.
turning hourly jobs into higher paying careers.
I heard about this design apprenticeship program with Amazon, and now I'm a UX designer for Prime Video.
Learn more at aboutamazon.com.
Welcome into Fantasy Pros. This is the Fantasy Football Podcast. Tara Roberts here along with Pat Fitzmaurice and Billy Muzio. And today we are doing our ranking show. We'll be going through the Fantasy Pros ranking tiers for Week 3. Pat and Billy will provide their thoughts on players in each tier. And there's no better pair to provide analysis on rankings because Billy was the number 4 overall most accurate in-season fantasy football ranker in 2022 and has consistently done well in our accuracy competition. Pat was the most accurate ranker in-season weekly ranker in 2020 and has been consistently among the most accurate rankers in fantasy football. You can find Billy at FFMuzio and Pat at Fitz_FF, and you can find me at It's Terra Time. So buckle in because their insight is absolutely going to help you with your fantasy matchups this week. Before we get started, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. Now, guys, heading into Week 3, Pat, how are you feeling?
Not coming off a great rankings week this week, Tara, and I'm dealing with a couple of 0-2 teams, so it's been kind of a rough, uneven start, but there have been some other highlights. The player props wagering has been going pretty well, so it's just I'm welcoming this new flood of data we're getting, and just trying to follow where it leads us.
I feel that. Billy, how about you?
Yeah, fantasy teams are coming off strong, have some great starts inside of the FFPC, which I'm looking forward to, and then also had a good prop week as well. Ranking week not so great again, but this is what we're collecting data for, as Pat said, right? We get 2-3 weeks of data, it really starts to give us a better understanding of how teams are utilizing players, get a large synopsis of target share for teams, and we can kind of refine those processes and really start to hunker down on the weekly rankings. And so looking forward to getting more data for week 3. That's when my model kind of becomes complete, and then we get that 3-week data form instead of using just 2, and we can start really rolling. And so I'm excited for this week of data and see what happens around the NFL with running backs.
I'm extremely excited for it too. We're going to go over the running backs. By the way, guys, you can find our consensus rankings at fantasypros.com/rankings, so make sure you go check that out after the show. We will start off with the S tier, but before we actually dive into these rankings, we have to talk about the big news that is going on right now. Obviously, Kareem Hunt down with an injury, and the Browns have officially signed, literally right before the show, Kareem Hunt, 1-year deal, up to $4 million. Let's talk about how this affects the fantasy value for Jerome Ford, Pierre Strong. What are we expecting out of Kareem Hunt? How are we attacking this? Because we've got, we just put in our waiver claims. We just made all those strong bids for Jerome Ford. Pat, are you concerned about those giant waiver claims that everyone just made? How are you feeling about this Kareem Hunt signing?
I am concerned about those giant waiver claims people made for Ford. It's not entirely tied to the Kareem Hunt signing. I mean, I think the Browns already made their choice in the offseason, and they chose to keep Jerome Ford around and not pursue Kareem Hunt. There were reports they thought he had maybe lost a step, but now they did need some depth. Boy, I don't know what it does for Pierre Strong. I think anyone who spent money on him in waivers might have been lighting Fab on fire. But the bigger issue I have with Ford is that people are getting him now, and he has a really tough 4 weeks coming up. Matchups against Tennessee, Baltimore, then a bye, then the 49ers. So Tennessee and the 49ers indisputably two of the most difficult run defenses in the NFL, and the Ravens, top 10 in DVOA against the run right now. They're above average for certain, maybe even better than that. So yeah, I mean, you might not see the fab bids on Ford pay off until week 8, and then it might be kind of a split with Kareem Hunt. I don't think Ford was ever going to be like an 80% snap share guy, so might be a split backfield. On the bright side, the Browns look pretty good. They can play defense, so they're going to be a lot of run-friendly game scripts, and Ford himself looked really good on Monday night against the Steelers. So, I mean, I think he's going to have flex value every week, but tough stretch to start for Ford here with the matchups, and then he's going to have Kareem Hunt cutting into his workload.
Billy, out of these, let's say Kareem Hunt and Jerome Ford, how are you approaching it? Who do you prefer?
Yeah, I prefer Jerome Ford, especially on the early downs. I think where Kareem Hunt's going to start to eat into the touches is going to be in the passing down section as well as red zone. We saw Kareem Hunt being heavily utilized in favor of Chubb last year in red zone situations because of his dual threat ability. I think that they probably go back to that method because it worked, and I know that he did lose a step. You saw it on film, you see it in the analytics, but things change when you lose a back caliber like Nick Chubb for the season, and I think that Kareem Hunt will probably be utilized on goal lines and probably eat into that third down workload. So I think it definitely caps the upside of Jerome Ford. I think that it just completely nukes the Pierre Strong upside, and I think that he's going to be relegated back to the third back and potentially be worked in at times, but it's going to be a lot less than what we were expecting prior to the signing. And I think that Hunt now will probably gain flex appeal as we start to get into the bye weeks and as more injuries amass during the season.
Assuming that Kareem Hunt comes in healthy and doesn't need any ramp up time period, are we avoiding both of these guys against Tennessee? Is this even in deep leagues? Is this a direction that you want to head at all with either one of them?
I think that I'm still very interested in Jerome Ford. We have Kareem Hunt. I mean, he does have familiarity with the offense, but he's coming in on a short turnaround to get with the team, to get up to speed, get acclimated with this year's playbook and style. So I think that Jerome Ford is probably going to see that 40 to 45% of the rushing share, potentially slightly more, probably sees more of that 4 to 5% of the target share. So I think that Jerome Ford is still very much in play this week. I would not be starting Kareem Hunt this week unless I'm in the most desperate of situations. Maybe you have a Barkley Chubb team and you don't really have another running back to start. And so I think then you could make an argument that Hunt could be maybe slotted into that lineup, but it's going to be a very dire situation if you're starting Hunt this week, and I wouldn't expect much.
Yeah, I mean, we might need a week just to get Hunt into game shape, like a week of conditioning. I'm not sure he's active, but Billy, where do you have Ford ranked this week? I think I'm at RB 27, just because I kind of hate the matchup.
Yeah, Ford came in on my projections. It was 21, I believe. Let me I can double check that, but it was in the low 20s.
Well, speaking of Saquon Barkley and Nick Chubb, these were guys that were very high up in the tiers last week, so I won't hold us up any longer. We'll go ahead and jump into those tiers. We'll start off with the S tier, the most spectacular tier. We've got Christian McCaffrey at the top, coming off a fantastic game. I mean, the utilization for him has been absolutely insane. Last week, 20 carries over 100 yards, a touchdown, and this week he is getting the New York Giants. Tony Pollard as well, coming off an excellent performance against the New York Jets, surprisingly. The receptions that kind of put him over the edge there. And then we close out the S tier with the John Robinson, over 100 yards last week against Green Bay. Fantastic performance. We don't really have any kind of, dissenting opinions in this one. We all really agree that these are, premier running backs. But we do have a little controversy in the A tier, so we'll go ahead and jump on down to that one to start off with Derrick Henry. In the A tier, top of the A tier, 25 carries, 80 yards, touchdown, 3 receptions against the LA Chargers. Then we have Kenneth Walker as well in the A tier, low yardage, but he did have a day salvaged by 2 touchdowns. Travis Etienne, very disappointing game after a strong week 1 performance, ended up with less than 10 fantasy points. Josh Jacobs, also kind of on that same track. He's sitting in the A tier still, but he is coming off of his second sub-10 fantasy point performance. Joe Mixon, 13 carries, 59 yards, and decent, save by receptions as well. And then we close out the A tier with Ramondre Stevenson. Just 50 yards on the ground, but he did get a touchdown. Gave us a nice mid RB2 performance. Guys, I want to pull out Derrick Henry.
Starting route to 19465 Dalby.
This one.
Head south on Middle Belt Road.
Pat, you have him ranked at RB4. ECR has him ranked at RB4. Billy, you have him ranked at RB8. Any concerns there for him?
Yeah, it just breaks down to his overall snap shares this year. He's just not seeing the snaps that we once saw from from this offense, and Tajay Spears has been eating into that a bit. And it just breaks down to the numbers for me. I mean, 47.6% snap share on the season right now. That's RB30. Opportunity share at 72%, which is still fairly high, but that's RB12. It's not near the top 3, top 4 that we used to see from him on a week-to-week basis. And weighted opportunities, he saw 13.7, which is RB20. And the team just isn't running the ball as much. So they had, team run plays per game right now is at 22, which is 24th in the league. Once we saw this number higher in the 30s, and when this offense is looking a little different than what we were expecting to start the season, the numbers are being adjusted, as we get more data in on the Excel sheet, and I think we have to make those adjustments now. Derrick Henry's a big name and has been kind of the leading rusher in King Henry, for a reason. But so far to date, only 20 carries where he would see that, 40 carries where he would see 25 to 30 in a game before. So he's RB13 in total carries. He's RB26 in targets. So the overall volume just isn't there like it has been in the past.
Pat, how about you?
Yeah, I understand Billy's point of view here. Tajay Spears is playing maybe more than people thought he was going to play, and we also don't love the matchup against the Browns. The Browns' run defense was bad last year. The Browns' run defense looks really good this year. Like, this has turned into a complete defense and not just sort of a run funnel defense, because last year, pretty good against the pass, not so good against the run. Now it's a complete defense. So I'm not eager to use Derrick Henry in DFS this week. But I think what we like is that he's still probably locked in for 15-plus touches, and Derrick Henry cashes in on the volume more often than not.
Volume is key here. I think a lot of times we got these running backs that have that high upside play, but sometimes we're looking at them only getting 10 to 13 carries. You got to rely on receptions, and sometimes it's just nice to have that guy that you can rely on for the volume. He does have a little bit of receiving upside. We do see Tajay Spears cutting into that. We'll go ahead and jump down to the next tier, but before we do that, football is back in full swing with another week of epic games, and who's got you covered on the action for every single one of them? DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Nobody is missing out on the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every game day this September. Get in on the action in NFL in Week 2 with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now. Use code FANTASYPROS to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code FANTASYPROS. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See sportsbook.draftkings.com/football terms for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
All right, guys, we'll jump into this B tier. I like a lot of names in this B tier, but it's kind of interesting and very
At the next light, turn right.
controversial. We start off with Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously looking to step into that lead back role in Week 3 with David Montgomery dealing with the side injury or the thigh injury. We've got low yardage from him last week, but the receptions very key from him. Could have an interesting week where he could jump up into one of those higher tiers. We've got James Cook as well, coming off of a breakout game, over 100 yards, 4 receptions on 4 targets, no touchdown. Unfortunately, we're still seeing the involvement.
At the light, turn right onto Grand River Avenue, then make a U-turn.
From Latavius Murray and Damian Harris, but still a premier back. Raheem Mostert, fantastic game, over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Use the left lane to make a U-turn.
Williams in his game, his first game officially without Cam Akers, who is on the trade block now. Excellent in a tough matchup against San Francisco. Then we've got Miles Sanders as well. Less than 50 yards on the ground. That one is very interesting. He's been an RB3 so
In 2.8 miles, make a U-turn.
far, but he is a lead back, so he is checking in this B tier, and then we close out the B tier with DeAndre Swift, who stepped into a massive role last week, taking over for injured Keenan Gainwell. 28 carries, 175 yards, and a touchdown. I think we need to talk about that one here. DeAndre Swift, the performance last week was incredible. Let's talk about whether or not we're buying into it. And Pat, Billy, you guys are kind of lockstep here. You've got him as RB21. ECR has him as RB15. The consensus is feeling a little bit more positively about him. Billy, how are you looking at DeAndre Swift this week?
This is a bit of a hedge. We saw the volume last week, 28 carries, because there was no Gainwell. And until further notice, I am projecting Gainwell to play this game. And if he is in the mix, then I don't think we can expect to see 28 carries and the overall workload that we saw from DeAndre Swift. Beginning of the season, I had said if Swift ever got the workload that Christian McCaffrey would get, he could easily become the RB1 in fantasy football. That being said, we cannot expect this type of volume to last all season with DeAndre Swift. The Eagles have just never done it. They always use 2-3 back rotations. I don't expect that to change here in week 3 if we have a healthy Gainwell. Now, if Gainwell is out and if Scott is out, if it's just Rashad Penny, then of course DeAndre Swift is going to move up the rankings, and we're going to see him probably closer to that RB10 range when everything is said and done, just because of the volume. Tampa Bay, not an easy matchup, but the volume should help overcome that. Got to like what he able to do on the ground last week. You mentioned it, 175 yards, but that was a 6.25 yard per carry average, which is just outstanding. But got to see what happens with the injury reports this week, and that'll help kind of finalize the number as we approach the weekend.
Pat, how about you?
Yeah, Billy framed this pretty well. I think we probably are going to see Kenneth Gainwell come back this week. He had 9 days to rest with that rib injury, and he was trying to. It was a short week for him in week 2, so easy to understand why he had to be scratched then. I think he comes back, and it's a tougher matchup with the Buccaneers instead of the Vikings, who DeAndre Swift trampled in week 2. But yeah, in week 1, we saw Gainwell out-snap Swift 41-19 and out-touch him 18-2. Now, I don't think we're going to see that sort of split in week 3. The genie is kind of out of the bottle with Swift after that week 2 performance, unlike the Lions, who like to keep the bottle sealed and keep the genie and all those gaseous vapors floating around in the bottle. It's open now, so we're going to see more Swift for sure, but Gainwell's going to be involved too, I think.
Before we dive into the C tier, just a reminder, guys, if you want a chance to win a signed Deebo Samuel San Francisco 49ers jersey, courtesy of bettingpros.com, your place to start betting smarter and not harder, you need to subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now. Comment below on this video, and that is it. We'll be announcing the winner right here on the channel, so make sure you turn on those notifications so you can be alerted when new episodes are up and to claim your prize. Let's talk about the C tier here. Starts off with Brian Robinson, who is absolutely dominating the Washington backfield. Had 18 carries, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns.